Hey everyone's Failed Shot back in another video, and today we're going to be going over the updated tier list for the month of March. Now, I plan on updating this every single month because the Void Tower rotation changes, but also anytime there's going to be a big patch notes, and we had one about a week and a half ago in regards to the massive buff and nerf list that they came out with. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to the tier list, go over all the characters and some real big winners of the recent changes and perhaps some losers. And if you do enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It does help me out. Let's jump into that list right now. All right, so here we are. We're at the tier list, and for those of you that want to access the tier list itself, it's in the description down below. It's attached to my calculator spreadsheet. It's going to be this tab down here, right there, and it's going to have the date on there at which I previously fully updated the list, so that way you know how current it is. It's going to be every month. No, most of the time it doesn't change too much, except for when Void Tower changes, all the characters' viability kind of shifts around. So we're going to go ahead and go over some of the overall changes that kind of went into this list in regards to Void Tower and some of the buffs and nerfs. And then we're going to go over specifically some of the big changes and some of the more popular characters, so that way you know how viable they are in Void Tower. For the most part, the rest of the game modes haven't changed. I plan on adding Witch and Gemini soon once I build out some more comps, because I still want to get a little bit more experience before I'm fully going to make a full tier list on them. So let's go ahead and go over the Void Tower changes. So as most of you know, there's going to be two new buffs, or rather debuffs, depending on how you look at them. One of them is if you do not CC the enemies, they have a 50% defense bonus. And then the other one is going to be if you are going 7 rounds into a battle, at least 7 rounds with a specific wave, they're going to get a buff that allows you to stun, or allows them to stun you every single attack that they do, which can get pretty oppressive. So this has definitely shifted the focus from pure DPS from previous rotation to allow the abilities of some tank comps to flourish. Now, I do want to mention that it's not 100%. You can't run some of the stages in a tank comp. Specifically, I think of when I think of this, it's 60 with the Lightwing, Zac, CC, and Blackhorn stage. That one you really can't run a tank comp. However, the previous rotation, you almost never could run a tank comp because you'd have to go to rounds 8, 9, 10, and they would be one-shotting you. But in this one, you can. And the reason for that is you could stack high resistance, and also you're able to take out 1 to 2 characters most of the time before they even reach the 7 rounds. A lot of their videos out there aren't really showing the proper tank comp. So just wanted to mention that, why the ratings on this list are the way that they are. And I'll have videos on my tank comp soon. And if you want to check out all that information, it's in the VODs on my stream. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some of the specific winners that I want to go over in regards to Void Tower changes, and then more specifically the recent patch notes that have happened. So first off, we have Brand the Brilliant, and Brand the Brilliant is an amazing Void Tower character if he's able, or rather if the tank comp is able to be run in Void Tower. I have him as a 9 here. I think he could easily buff up to a 10 for Void Tower. He's just a solid character overall in the game. He acts as another poisoner, so he can be easily used for things like Queen, for things like Tulpa. Honestly, he could be rated as a 10 perhaps for Queen, although he's not quite as good as Luke and some of the other characters when you get some of those specific traits. Another couple of characters I want to mention is Blackhorn and Mythasia. Again, they're amazing healers throughout the game, but they also jumped up in viability again because Void Tower has changed. And then another one that I want to mention specifically for Void Tower is Hakron. So Hakron is an absolute monster of a character. They're even talking about nerfing him right now because he's so good in Arena. But in Void Tower here, he's at a 10 yet again because he is crucial to the tank comp if you actually want to run the tank comp. And as I said, I've gone to 83 with a pure tank comp except for stage 60. So another couple of characters I really quickly wanted to mention, some huge winners from the recent patch notes. If you have not seen the patch notes, go ahead and check them out. They're on the official Ace Discord. But a couple of them include Hydrisia. So this one I want to talk about a little bit because Hydrisia, honestly, the ratings didn't change much for her. Now, the reason why the ratings didn't change much for her is because she didn't really push into any new game modes, if that makes sense. She didn't really like, oh, now she's viable for Guild Boss, or maybe now she's viable for, I don't know, Tulpa or something. None of that type things happened. What did happen is the game modes that she was good in, she got better in. So things like Campaign, she becomes more consistent and deals consistently high damage. Things like Arena Offense, she's now doing not only her ultimate or her second skill, but also getting that bonus damage off the AoE. And then in Ashe, she can be oftentimes used as her solo clearer for Ashe. She's one of the few characters that if you don't have Nathalia, you can run her instead and still complete Ashe. So really, she's just getting way more consistent in regards to her proccing her passive, because that's really the only big major change in regards to Hydrisia, which is huge for a lot of the PvE content in the game, as well as the PvP offense. Another one that really got super strong, I think, in this previous patch notes is Yolanda. So the reason why I say Yolanda has gotten so much better is because of the fact that now she has a pseudo Mary type ability on her second skill, where she's getting that damage up, she's getting an extra turn, so you can actually target your character. Let's say you're using her in Guild Boss, you can target your damage dealer like Antinua to make sure she's always using that on Antinua, and then you can just run it full auto, which is pretty efficient. And now she's actually an absolute monster on Arena. She is so tough to get to. If she ever gets a turn, she's putting a massive shield as well as reducing the chance for you to crit by 50%, which is absolutely insane. If you're not critting, you're not doing damage in Arena typically. So by the fact that she can reduce the chance for you to crit is actually really insane. Another one that I really want to mention is Tia. Now, I've been a huge advocate for Tia since the beginning of the game. I think she's one of the most important, one of the best legendaries in the game. And this rating right here, the overall ratings, they don't really represent the overall strength of the character. And Tia is a perfect example because I think that, personally, Void Tower is the single most important game mode in the game after you've farmed your first stage 12 dungeon. And although Tia isn't particularly good for the dungeons, she is an absolute monster for Void Tower. Now, some of the rotations, she's a little bit worse. Some of the rotations, she's a little bit better. But for example, this rotation, she is absolutely one of the best characters in the game to handle this Void Tower rotation. Why? Well, normally, she just gives you that freeze debuff and allows you to perhaps take it a couple extra turns, and then she's going to, boost that damage with the frozen debuff. And obviously, it's an RNG proc where if you hit them, they can remove the frozen. But in this Void Tower rotation, it's super good because in order for you to remove that 50% defense, you need to CC someone. And the best way to do that is with someone like Tia, someone like Lunar Meliza, and we'll go over that in just a moment. Lunar Meliza, or our Tia here, she not only removes that 50% defense increase, but also gives you that extra 50% damage on top of that from the frozen, and perhaps gives you a little bit of extra CC in there, which is absolutely amazing. So she is an absolute monster. And then another one I want to mention, and I guess this kind of falls into the Void Tower category more so than the recent patch notes, but Lunar Meliza here is just an absolute monster for Void Tower here, because not only are you going to get an extra turn when you use that taunt, but you're also going to remove that defense, which is hugely important, as we quickly mentioned. And also, I forgot to mention on Tia that she now has that targeted frozen ability. She is super good for specifically someone like our stage like floor 60, where you can target Lightwing Zac or target CC, and you can focus all your damage on them. She makes it much more consistent now, and just honestly way more damage, which is really big. And one last character I wanted to mention was actually Guerrelle. He's the newest character in the game, and there's a lot of opinions on him, and I plan on testing him myself because I do have him. I just haven't really been interested in it. So I just don't think he's an absolutely amazing character. Now, what are my ratings for him? I have him rated as an 8 for campaign. I'm not going to go through all of them, but he's a decent campaign. He's okay in Arena. He has some very solid potential and some more stall-based comps. He's an absolute monster for Guild Boss. And then, obviously, the ability dungeons. But really what he shines in my opinion, is two things. One, in bruiser comps, so for Arena and for Void Tower, I think that he could be very viable. I'm going to be updating these rankings as I test him more. So this one I would, take this as my kind of initial testing, because I have used him a little bit, but I still don't think he's amazing. Maybe my opinion will be changed after I test him myself. And then also, I think he's an amazing Tulpa character. If you have him, you should definitely be using him in Tulpa. I think he's going to be one of the best in Tulpa. I think that his Ascension trait is super good. So if you don't have Ascension 5, he drops off quite significantly, because you're not getting that bonus turn once you enter the Asura state, which is pretty big because you want to get value out of him as soon as you enter that Asura state versus waiting an extra turn. So I really just think he's a decent Tulpa character. I think he's a decent Arena stall type character or a bruiser type character in those types of bruiser type teams in Void Tower. So that's really where I think his place is. There isn't really too much else to Guerrelle. So that's pretty much all the changes I wanted to really go over. I guess I can quickly mention Evelyn first on here. I don't think their ratings really changed. He was good where she was good in. The joint attack makes it a little bit better, but not quite good enough to be like mass used. But she's still amazing in Void Tower. She's still amazing in Arena, and those game modes haven't really changed since previous. So that pretty much wraps up the tier list. Now, if you do disagree with any of these, feel free to drop a comment down below. Let me know what you disagree with. I'll take a second look at it. But I will be updating this, as I mentioned, next month in April. And if anyone has any questions or any updates that they want to happen after patch notes, let me know, and I will take a look at it and perhaps do a video on it. So that'll be it, and I'll see you for the next one.